Hi, this is Matt with LSAT Cracked. In a previous lesson, we discussed how a causation conclusion, saying that simply because A occurred before B or because A and B are positively correlated, that A necessarily causes B is always a bad argument. Now, you're occasionally going to be asked to either strengthen or weaken that cause and effect relationship. Let's talk about how you can weaken that cause and effect relationship. And before we get into the big three that you need to memorize, let's make one thing very clear. When we're dealing with a coincidence template, namely A came before B, therefore A caused B, the idea that A came before B is a necessary condition for A having caused B. What this means is, if that's ever ambiguous, if the order of events of A and B occurring in time is ambiguous, and you ever see an answer choice that establishes that A, the purported cause, actually occurred later in time than B, the effect, there's no possible way that A could have caused B. You're not allowed to time travel on the LSAT. With that out of the way, let's go over the three basic plain vanilla ways they often want you to weaken a cause and effect argument. The number one way, and it's an indirect way, so you have to be careful and look out for it, is to introduce an alternate cause. If I'm saying that Jones is the murderer, and that's my conclusion, I'm basically making a causation argument. I'm saying the murder is the effect, and Jones is definitely the cause. The number one way, if you were the defense lawyer, to weaken my causation argument would be to introduce another suspect who might just as equally have committed the crime. Notice you're not dealing with my cause at all. You're indirectly weakening the case. You're not defending your client directly. You're showing that someone else could have been the culprit. That's introducing an alternate cause. Because, let's say, Xavier may have committed the murder, I can no longer say with certainty that Jones being the murderer is a must-be-true statement. Number two way, show another scenario where the purported cause occurs, but without the effect. So if we're claiming that the pollution from the river is killing the fish, and a certain chemical, claritin, is to blame, simply show another town, perhaps with the same river, that also has the purported substance in the water, and yet we're not seeing the fish die off. Number three, show the cause without the effect, again, in another scenario. So suppose we're saying that a particular economic policy is responsible for GDP going up by 20%. Simply show another region, perhaps nearby, that did not receive or did not alter its economic policy in this new direction, and yet still saw its GDP go up by that same amount. If you do any of those three things that we just talked about, alternate cause, cause without the effect, or effect without the cause, notice those last two are simply showing a disjoint between cause and effect, one without the other, you have successfully weakened that causal relationship. In the next video, we'll discuss how you can strengthen causation.